Okay, so the second tenet here is we work with and not for. This is a very important thing for me when I started Project H because, as a designer, you learn to present to clients. That's what you do. You sit in a room and you come up with a solution, you present it to the client, and they usually hate it, and you go back and forth, and it's this game of ping pong. So for Project H, I wanted to sort of flip that on its head and say, let's not design for people, let's design with them and bring them into the creative process, so that we can get better feedback, so that they have ownership, so they have a stake in the process. There are a million reasons to work with, not for. This is the Los Angeles chapter project, which is called Abject Object. This is one of my favorites. This is a woman named Carol, who's a homeless woman. She's living in the Downtown Women's Center, which is a homeless shelter in Los Angeles. And the Los Angeles chapter went into this project with a sort of basic idea of what it was going to be. They wanted to work with the women in this shelter to design, produce, and sell retail garments, accessories, textile-based things. Nothing all that innovative, but that really wasn't the point. It was about setting up this enterprise where the proceeds would go directly back to the shelter and then hopefully give marketable skills to women who could then go and get jobs. So it started as a very sort of simple workshop-based, let's make things out of textiles and see what comes out of it. But this is a great example of with, not for, because Carol, halfway through the process, we were working on a bag. We were like, okay, everyone loves a bag. That'll be one of our products. And Carol told us about halfway through, when she was still living on the street, the thing she wanted more than anything was a hammock. That would have been like the best thing ever. She said, I would have loved to have a hammock. I could have hooked it up. It would have been as good as a bed and wouldn't have had to sleep on the concrete. And so, by listening to her feedback, and we kind of laughed it off, but then it occurred to us, like, why can't we make this bag into a hammock as well? So what we did, one chapter member, Danny, worked on this for about 6 weeks quietly in a corner. He was very secretive about it. And then all of a sudden, we had all this donated material, and this was what came out of it. This is a very simple bag made from reclaimed parachute material and inner tubes, bike inner tubes. You can carry it as a bag. You can pull the rope out of the handles, and you can use it as a hammock. Okay, the third one is we start locally and we scale globally. The idea here is that if you start locally and you're not thinking about the developing world as oceans away, but in your own backyard, which it is, it's in Chicago, in San Francisco where I live, there are 500 SROs in San Francisco. The developing world is in our own backyard. So if you engage locally and then find ways to scale and adapt that on a global scale, then all the better for everyone. So this is an initiative called Empowerment Through Food, which started in New York City. The basic idea was to use urban farming and rooftop gardening, mostly vegetables, to teach public school students about personal health, ecology, and they use the vegetables in the cafeteria, which is like so much better than what they usually eat. And then this is, I'm going to use this story to tell the last two tenets. This is the learning landscape, and this is a playground that you use to teach math. The first time we built it was at this school, which is the Katamba AIDS Orphan School in Uganda. This is January 2008, and I'll talk about what the heck this thing is in a second, but I just want to show that the first place we built it was in Uganda, and then in April we did 4 of them in rural North Carolina, and then about 3 weeks ago I just finished this one in the Dominican Republic. So 3 totally different places, but it started with this very small engagement with the school in Uganda, and then we were able to apply it elsewhere. And that leads into this fourth tenet, which is we create systems and not stuff. So the learning landscape is a great example of this. When we visited the school in Uganda, we said, okay, we see an opportunity to improve math education. We started with math education because math is universal. We saw an opportunity to make math more engaging, and from the beginning we thought it was going to be like a Montessori-esque toy, like a product that you could put on your desk, and during classroom time you could use it to teach math. And so we always thought of it as a product, and very quickly realized that no, it needed to be something else. It needed to be something that was about activity and being outside and interacting with other students, and not just like having your head down looking at this desk. So it became not about stuff or a product at all. It became this system which really is the dumbest construction ever. It's 25 reclaimed tires that you bury halfway in the ground in a grid, in a 5x5 grid. and you can play games in it. So, I grew up playing Around the World and Heads Up, 7 Up, and a lot of the games are interpretations of those games that I remember playing. But super, super simple, and you can apply them to everything from like 2 + 2 kindergarten math to basic algebra. The favorite game is called Match Me, and the way that Match Me works is the students line up in 2 teams, 1 on each side of the playground, and then the teacher will yell out a question like 4 times 4. And the kids in the front of the line in each team have to figure out that 4 times 4 is 16, and then they have to find the tire that has a 16 on it and sit on it. And then whoever sits on the tire stays there, and whichever team has all their players on the tires first wins. So like the simplest rules ever, and you can use this for other subjects too. You can teach vocabulary, or you could put dates and teach history and social studies. So it's a very, very adaptable system. And just to prove this point, I have a short video clip of these kids going crazy playing Match Me. These kids love it, and the teachers love it too, which was really the most important thing, which leads me to the 5th tenet of this credo, which is we measure, document, and share. When we went to the Dominican Republic school most recently, we went with all of the games that the North Carolina and the Uganda teachers had invented. There's one teacher that came up with this great way to teach area, where she would say, go and mark out an area of 8, and the kids would have to go and trace around a 2x4 section of tires. So there were just like all these things that we as designers hadn't thought of, but we were able to document those and package them, and then open source them to this 3rd school in the Dominican Republic, and create a communication network between all the teachers so that they can continue to share. A lot of this seems very optimistic, and I'm the first person to say that I do not know everything about design for social impact, but that's not the point. The point is that we're engaged in something, and that we're always coming back to the action and trying to build solutions together. So I really do believe that design can change the world, whether that's the whole world or the world of one person or a family or a community. And the way that we're going to do that is collectively through this sort of revolutionary action as designers. So thank you.